Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Horan, the initial implementation of this rule is designed as a pilot program with other contracts being included if, in fact, the pilot is successful. Given your conclusions that the anticipated benefit of the rule to the government is poorly defined and unlikely to be realized, how do you think GSA is supposed to figure out if the pilot is successful?
Well, the way I would like them to figure it out is if it actually produces a better value, best value to the government, considering the cost to contractors. I don't think they can do that based on the manner in which the proposed rule is implemented here. What I think we will see from GSA is some type of calculation of, in their view, of cost savings that will be based entirely on prices and without consideration of the complexity of that type of analysis, where you should determine whether the prices would have lowered based on a competition at an order level, and also the offset to those lower prices based on the loss of these other value-added services. And then finally, the consequence of pushing all contractors to lower prices regardless to the competition on GSA schedules, because I think you will see businesses, particularly small businesses, leaving the schedule as it continues in this direction.
Thank you. And, you know, I've been in the state legislature for 20 years, so we've dealt with these types of issues in regards to purchasing from a certain vendor for the lowest price versus the best value. And I know many of you had mentioned that this morning. Small businesses are known for the added value they can provide agencies with benefits such as customer service. Big corporations or big companies can't do that. Mr. Horan, you stated in your testimony that the new rule does not account for such added value. What could this omission mean not only to small vendors but also to the agencies that purchase their goods and services?
I think those other terms that lead to best value could be lost. Again, that it could be, the procurement could be driven to low price only, and as a result of that, the contractors who offer some of these other terms and services that provide best value will lose sales at a minimum, perhaps be driven out of the market. And the flip side of that is eventually government purchasers will lose the opportunity to purchase from those type of contractors that provide best value in a manner that isn't limited to price or low price.
Because they're out of the business, or they're just not bidding anymore?
Because they're out of the business. I mean, there are other issues as well, because there's such pressure on contracting officers to look at only low price that sometimes they will exclude consideration of best value. Right. But ultimately, I think they could be out of the business.
Okay, thank you. The Coalition for Government Procurement Survey, in its survey, small businesses indicate that it would take on average 232 hours to comply with the GSA's proposed rule. Mr. Stanford, has your business done its own estimate on the hours it will take to comply with the new requirement? And do you find the results of the survey to be more accurate than GSA's own analysis?
We have not, and while we've looked at their study and the ABA work, we're also encouraged in accepting their conclusion because also SBA Office of Advocacy and GSA's own Inspector General determined that those costs seem understated.
Their meaning the coalition, not GSA's?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Other than hours spent on compliance, can you discuss some of the other costs that companies like yours will have to face because of this rule?
I won't speak to our company individually, but speaking to the companies we work with as they enter the Federal market, the costs beyond compliance are, for small businesses, are initial costs up front. So if you're getting a schedule, that's an enormous barrier for small businesses. Actually getting into the GSA e-buy system can be a barrier. As we make that more complicated, as we add additional systems, what we hear from businesses is they simply don't have the resources. I think one of the other panelists pointed to a conclusion that this rule would require an extra employee. For the case of a small business that has an innovative solution, they don't have that extra employee. And one conversation is that they're not ready, which is a cost to the government.
Thank you. I yield back.